We'll call this public hearing to order at 6:03 p.m. They are. So first up is a public hearing regarding the acceptance of the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program grant. So Belmont Elementary has been awarded a Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program grant in the amount of $27,580. And the grant period is from October of 2024 through September of 2025. So we need to hold a public hearing because this grant in gift is above $25,000. So I'll open it up to questions from the public.
Is there an expectation for continuing it after it has matured?
It's a grant that we've been getting every year, but there's no guarantee that it will continue.
Oh, but it's that, I guess that's what I was saying.
Comes from the Bureau of Nutrition.
Yeah.
And so if there's income eligible, there's
Yeah, it depends on the free and reduced counts in your schools, and there's some other criteria.
So, any other questions? Okay, we'll close, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing at 6:05 p.m. All right. Now, we'll open the school board meeting at 6:05 p.m. So I'll call the meeting to order. All board members are present. So first up is review and approval of the September 24th public meeting minutes. On line 28 and 32, this Kate sounds correctly.
Jill, can you just hold on? I was just finishing the public hearing.
Oh, okay, sorry. Mark is part of the email. I think we are. That's what the email said. So. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Anything else?
So we would be again, on the second.
And on Wednesday, the acoustics aren't great in here, so we may have to speak up or maybe here across the way.
Corrections.
Second. Any additional discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll stay.
One abstention. Our next meeting date, official board meeting, is October 22nd here at Canterbury Elementary. And I believe we'll have the boards. October 22nd, we'll have the board.
Yes, I've heard that. That's when we have a tentative joint board meeting with the board selectmen from Canterbury as well as board selectmen from Belmont. Heard back from the board selectmen from Canterbury that they are going to be here, and I'm still waiting. But we do have a meeting October 17th, which is next Thursday at 6 p.m.
Meeting with administrators.
That's meeting with administrators and overlays.
Okay. Public communication and correspondence. This is an opportunity for residents of Belmont or Canterbury to ask questions or provide information to the board. Seeing no public comment, we will move on to reports. First up is board member reports. I'll start with you, Mark. Do you have anything in your report? CES PTO, they're now known as the CES Advocates, provided a detailed report in our packet in terms of their achievements, who's on the leadership, and what they have planned. What they've either done this year or had planned. Okay. Well, thank them for their report and for all the support in Canterbury Elementary. All right. New business. 25-26 proposed operating budget. I want to invite our budget committee members.
No, we're seeing Kate and Cody.
So, I'm assuming you're going to orient us all to.
Yes.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Anybody here?
And we did.
Yes.
A lot of work with this here. So welcome, Edgar, Jay, and Bob. Appreciate your time. And also want to thank you in advance for the amount of time we're spending together over the next couple of months to go over this budget. What I'm going to do this evening, what I tend to do is provide everyone with a budget binder. I'll talk about how that binder is set up, and then I'll talk about really the highlights of the budget that we provided for you. And then we really start getting into the meat of the budget starting next Thursday when the group of district as well as building level administrators come, and it's an opportunity for you to ask questions at a building level or at a department level. But this evening I'll go over the highlights and the other meetings where we really start diving into it. This is the first time you can look at it. So your binder is set up, so we have certain sections. Right at the top, we have the budget calendar, which I know that Delegate sent out. Just make sure that you have these dates on your calendar. And then there's a budget overview behind that, as well as some budget highlights. I'll come back to this because this will be the focus of our discussion this evening. The way the budget binder is set up is you have a budget summary section. This is basically all of the functions that make up our school district budget are summarized with totals. And then we have a budget detail, which is the next section. And that is when we really get into all of the lines that make up our school district budget. So this is the detailed look at the entire school district budget, proposed budget. And feel free to jump in with any questions as I move through this. The next section is the rationale sheets. That's the title of it. These are the individual administrator budgets. This is district-wide departments as well as building level budgets that are put together by the principals. This section here, the rationale sheets, will be the focus of conversation next Thursday. This will be, so if you have any homework between now and next Thursday, I focus specifically on these rationale sheets to answer any questions you might have for our administrators. They'll all be present here next Thursday, other than Tanya, she has a commitment, family commitment. She's our director of special ed. She has a family commitment out of town next Thursday, but I think I could probably handle the questions. Next section is the trust fund balances. So So these are all of our trust funds as well and balances that are currently within those funds. Next section is the capital improvement plans. We have 2 capital improvement plans in the district. We have a building and grounds capital improvement plan, which is the first sheet, and then we have our technology capital improvement plan, which is the next sheet. The next section is the revenue and apportionment. We do not have that information for you at this time. That tends to come out in November.
October,
November. So another purpose of the binder is when we provide you with updated information or new information that might be requested in our conversations, I'll bring that to you, this whole group, and I'll say this is great for this section, put it in your binder here so it keeps everything organized for you along the way. Let's see, next is health, dental, and retirement. We do not get our health and dental rates until usually November 15th is the deadline, but we do have the retirement information in here, so that's already in here. And then we have this section here, staffing. Staffing is really when we start talking about any type of budget impact or questions around staffing, we tend to put that there in that section. And then there's another, this is just sort of random information. What's in there right now is, I know that there will be a request for this, so just being proactive. This is, we have our current vacancy list in here. I can discuss further with you as we go along. And then our default budget is the last section. And we're already starting to work on the default. We're going to try to get that to you earlier in the process this year. So that the board as well as the advisory budget committee can really start comparing what our proposed is to our default earlier on in the process, so you understand what we're working on. So those are the sections of the binder. Questions to make up for that?
I have a quick question. At the beginning, which I left this like brief overview, looking at this page, are we sure that number is accurate? I thought it was supposed to be very a bit higher based on that warrant article.
So the warrant article is a little misleading. The warrant article is the cost associated with salaries and benefits and any other items that are agreed to with that collective bargaining agreement, but it's based on the individuals in the bargaining unit at the time of the negotiations. So you have changes, people come, people go, other things change. So it's never a number, and that you can go back and say, yes, this was exactly what it was. And this is salary only, not benefits. Again.
So the budget overview, we'll go to that sheet, just give you a sort of a high level take at the budget in general. So our 25-26 proposed budget, this is the recommended budget that I'm bringing forward you to start working off of. Our total budget, we're looking at a less than a 1% increase. So it's coming in at a 0.93% increase. That is the total budget. The subtotal operational budget is what the tax rate is based on, is under 2%. That's coming in at a 1.69% increase. So we were very conscious, particularly this year, putting the budget forward to the board and making sure that we meet the needs of the district, but also trying to be as fiscally as responsible as we can to the taxpayer. So our overall budget is at 0.93%, under 1%. And then our subtotal is at 1.69% of the increase.
So, Michael, without getting into the details, just basically, how did you accomplish that? There were 3 big buckets last year. And I'm happy to see that. I'm just curious.
I'll hit that in the next page. You'll see where there's some significant savings, as well as where some of the increases are coming from. Okay. What you'll see also is that we do not, as I said earlier, we do not have our health insurance rates, which is a big portion of the budget. We did contact our health insurance provider, school care, get an estimate, we do 7 years, give us an idea as to what they might be. And she said that you save to put it in at a 10% increase, which is what's included here in the budget. We always hope that comes in lower because that lowers that line as we presented to you. But in the budget right now is a 10%, estimated 10% increase on health insurance. This budget also doesn't include track change requests. Those are due to us by October 15th. For Edgar and Bob, track change would be a teacher has to put in by October 15th of this year as to if they anticipate a track change, like going from a bachelor's degree to a master's degree, so that we can budget for next year. Those are due to us October 15th. And this also does not include any of the separation requests. These are our teachers and or administrators that plan to retire at the end of this school year. There's a benefit in the contract, that there's a separation pay, and it's based on their years of experience and a bachelor's step 1 on the salary scale. So, right?
No, that's their salary.
So that tends to be, if you've been here for 30 plus years and you're looking at retirement, you could have a separation cost added in this budget close to $50,000 as a separation. So we have till October 15th to receive that information as well. That's not in this budget.
November 1st.
And November 1st.
And there's only so many people that qualify for that?
The list is getting shorter because it is sunset. But again, we also limit it to 6 a year, but the board can approve additional requests if you wish. We've never had more than 6.
And then as for tax rate projections, it's way too early right now to dive into that. You know, projected revenues will determine what that might be. That's the overview.
Quick question on the tax rate information says early November. So in theory, in early November, we have an idea of how the proposed budget will impact the homeowners' tax rates, as far as based on, what the home value is.
Based on the information they used to set the tax rates this year, yes.
Talking the state.
At the state, no, the town.
Well, I realize that tax rate now has this, but this budget will go through.
Yeah, but the rates, the home valuations do get taken into consideration, but when we are predicting tax rates during the budget development, I can only use the amounts that the town is currently using when this year's rates are set, because I have no way of knowing what the town valuations are going to be in the year.
It says early November. That seems early.
Tax rates? So they usually start setting them sometime in October, and they hope to have them done by early November. Last year,
That sounds like you started like last minute.
yeah, well, last year it was delayed because there was a lot of waiting on the state to release some final numbers. So DRA couldn't, but I spoke with them today, and they confirmed all of our revised revenues for this year. And the last piece that I was waiting for was special ed, and the state did announce that to DRA. So our portion is all set. I have no idea if the town's revenues have been confirmed or not. So at this point, they go back to the Department of Ed, they confirm our apportionment formula, and then at least our portion will be all set by the tax rate.
Bob, did you have something?
Just that then there's an extra few weeks of time when the select board gets the school district information and then fills out the various forms for the DRA. And the select board has to go to Department of Revenue Administration and then they'll put the town's overall tax rate. That's why it's a question that it arrives at the last minute in late November as we scramble to send out tax bills.
Because the town can use overlay, because they won't know that until they get the whole.
There are other
piece.
factors involved in the town calculations for the tax rate.
Yeah. And then it goes through 3 sets of eyes at DRA before they release the final. It's quite a process.
I feel like we're going to get a whole lot of insight this year, last year, from the back end process.
Any questions on the overview? so we'll dive into the, sort of some of the details. of highlights. Start with the section, this is the next page, start with salary. So for the SREA, that is our Teachers Association, year 3 of the collective bargaining agreement is included in this. It's a 4-year collective bargaining agreement with 1 more year on that after next year.
And then just to clarify, because I know we have some numbers, we're looking at this because we talked about homework. So where it says like the first one is total 1,100 regular education, when we go into the detail, that's everything behind that, right? So it's a summary of the next section.
I thought when the collective bargaining agreement approved last year.
We're in the second year of a 4-year agreement.
You thought of it?
Time flies by.
Yes.
Where are we?
All right,
Yeah, you were spot on. And,
okay.
We're just not there.
You were talking about it?
We're on the highlights.
Yeah, all right.
We're on the highlights. So you can see there that year 3 of the collective bargaining agreement is included in this budget as a total of $131,796. But these are cost impacts, meaning this is an increase, any decrease you'll see in parentheses. There was a request to add 3 additional days to our school nurse contracts in all 4 schools. You can see that that's an increase of $4,377. And please stop me along the way if you have any questions.
I have a question. Are the nurses not here for the full school year?
So here for the full school year, this would add 3 days at the beginning of the school year to prepare.
Preparation.
Absolutely. Getting records ready for the start of the school year. And the start of sports as well.
Does that mean that maybe there's potential to not fill out the same paper over and over again? Can you fill out the year
No,
prior?
we're having a nice job.
Yeah.
And then summer school is next. So summer school salaries, we've been fortunate to be able to take those salaries out of the grant monies known as ESSER monies. Those monies became available when the pandemic hit, and we were able to use those monies for summer school salaries. Those monies are no longer available as of this past September 30th. Therefore, those salaries are now back into the put back into the operation budget, and that also includes an increase for hourly rates for school staff. Example, we currently pay teachers $30 an hour for summer school. We're recommending that we increase that to $40 an hour, as well as our support staff going from $20 an hour to $25 an hour, and some of our specialists that provide services to our students during the summer, increasing those rates as well, and it varies based on the specialist.
Is this just for summer school, or is this, do we have summer school prior to the pandemic? Not talking in Sunday school, we're talking about summer school.
Yes. So we have Title I
Yeah.
as well, which is paid out of Title I monies.
Right.
We also had standards recovery, both the middle school and the high school.
Right.
That was taken out of the ESSER monies. And then we have our regular summer school program that we did both the middle school as well as the high school that were not, that were taken out of ESSER, that were in the operating budget prior. This ESSER monies were used as additional monies on top of that, so we were able to offer more during the summer than what we did prior to.
So we still want to offer more.
We still want to stay with that.
I just wanted to be clear, like, we didn't supplant it, which means we would pull it out of our operating budget and fund it with ESSER monies. But so what this means is we still keep it at the same level, so we enhance it with ESSER money.
I back up if I might miss something. We're paying already for some of this to our budget originally, and then we're using ESSER money to help supplement.
Yes, to increase the amount of programming that we offer over the summer. And Debbie, you took this number off of what we were able to provide.
Correct, but when ESSER came out, we were able to just do all of credit recovery and all of the middle school, high school, before school, after school, and summer programs out of ESSER. It wasn't considered supplanted for ESSER. So if you look on page 14 of the detail line, you will see in 21-22, we paid $10,860 for middle school and high school summer school. The high school was strictly credit recovery at the end of the year. And we really haven't spent much in 22-23, that was for a coordinator. 23-24 was also a coordinator. We had nothing in this year's adopted budget, but we are proposing whatever we've been using for credit recovery in ESSER, putting back into the grant, going forward.
Back into the budget.
Back into the budget, sorry.
That's a $50,000 swing, just to be clear, right?
Correct, because with ESSER, it was not just summer school, it was credit recovery, it was before school and after school programs that we are incorporating. So there's the credit recovery at the end of the year and then summer school. And we didn't have both of those options before at the high school level.
I'm sure you've looked through this already, but it feels like credit recovery is still a pretty big topic nationally. There's no other grant opportunities to replace this.
And they're very clear, those ones ended on September 30th.
Just because it's a known
Yes.
issue, right?
And again, that also includes those rate increases for those positions that provide us services over the summer.
And this is also extended school year, which is a 12-11 internship, not just credit recovery.
Just to make sure I can wrap my head, sorry, I didn't mean to force it.
So the 63.2 is not just all credit recovery. It also includes the extended school year rate adjustments.
So looking at page 14, we have no budget costs associated with summer school last year?
This year, we have no budget, correct,
Okay, thank you.
because it all came out of ESSER.
Gotcha, okay, got it.
So only the rate adjustments, so extended school years for children who have IEPs that qualify. I'm not saying that.
I know.
I know what it is. So I want to know what this number is. Because I just want to know what we're funding out of what do we normally fund PS5 in? And has it always been with ESSER 2 monies? That can be the case. So I don't mean right this very moment. That's not, I'm sorry, I'm just saying.
When we get there, we can discuss that.
I just think it would help us as a board to know, like, what did we fund for, what did we enhance, which we know we're going to still support our students, and then we also know we've had trouble getting teachers and specialists to do summer school. So I get why we're proposing that. I just want to know, I'd like a better picture of our summer program.
Yeah, we can do it right now. Absolutely. Next, you'll see that for all non-affiliated staff, this includes support staff, administrators, and specialists. This includes a 3.2% increase. That is based on the 2024 cost of living adjustment. 2025 has not come out yet. This is based on the 2024 cost of living adjustment. It's 3.2%. Consumer price index over the past 12 months was 2.5%. And the cost of living adjustment for 2024 was 3.2% of an increase. And that's what I included in this budget for all non-affiliated staff. And that's at $172,000. Longevity is included in here at $20,000, a little over $20,000. You can see substitute, we're looking to, again, try to be competitive, increasing that from $100 a day to $150 a day to attract a larger substitute pool. We did do the analysis on regional districts, particularly those that responded to the request. And we do have districts in the region that are paying that amount for substitutes. It ranges anywhere between $100 to $150 a day. So you see that as in there is an increase of $75,000. And then we are recommending a position change, which specifically a position in our business office at the SAU. We currently have a payroll and benefits coordinator. We'd like to change that to a human resource coordinator position, which includes a pay increase because the responsibilities are much larger than just payroll and benefits. This position does all of our onboarding for new staff as well as works with our staff specifically for any type of HR issues that they might have throughout the year. That position has grown significantly over the years.
Is the job description removing parts that are already being done, adding those additional ones?
It was completely revised, Debbie, so there wasn't anything taken away. This is all, there's more to it. That's why we recommended the change in the title to the position and growing significantly when it comes to responsibility. And then open positions. So over the past several years, any vacancy that we've had that's a certified position, specifically teachers, we've carried at a master's step 5. And it's a bit of a gamble, I'll lay that out for you, but we moved that from master's step 5 to a bachelor's step 1 for those vacant positions. We've seen over the past several years that we've actually been hiring new staff that are either coming directly out of a college, a college or university program, teacher prep program. We also, which would start at bachelor step 1, we've also been hiring staff through alternative plans, which bring them into the bachelor step 1. So just taking that from a master step 5 vacancies to bachelor step 1, you can see a savings of $43,000.
How does it work with some of the exciting? And the reason I'm asking this question, a number of subjects don't need a master's. I mean, I get step changes, business theory, and some time here. But why would we need for a master's?
So we will hire any staff member with a bachelor's degree or higher to teach in these certified positions.
Okay.
And as they might come out of a teacher prep program with a bachelor's degree, but then they pursue graduate work to get their master's degree. And we highly emphasize the importance of continuing learning and continuing with a higher degree. So we have staff that come to us and they start out with a bachelor's, and then they might work their way all the way to a master's plus 15 or even beyond that. Because they have a benefit in our collective bargaining agreement where they can continue professional development at a graduate level and continue the learning.
I think when we get into the detailed discussions of the problem, I understand the collective agreement and all that, retention tool. I don't see it as value add with a lot of abilities. So if it's a case where somebody's coming in and they're applying to get an answer to the school, question we need to do that with teachers in here. I can understand that answer. So again, I'm just curious.
Sure, we have to have a conversation. Just so you know, on the upfront, I'm very supportive of anyone pursuing a higher degree, as well as we, regardless of the degree that they have, we hire the most qualified candidate that we feel is the best fit for our school district and classroom, regardless of whether it's a bachelor's or master's, and also regardless of what we budget for. So if somebody comes in for a position that's a vacant position that we have in the budget for a bachelor's step 1, but they come in with a master's step 5, we're still going to hire that person, and we're going to keep an eye on that budget to make sure that we stay.
So again, not to pursue this any further, but coming at it from a business perspective, the master's part of it is very able to improve the market of students and understand it, otherwise I certainly the same way I do in private business, but not anyways. So.
Well, there's many situations where a faculty member, they may be teaching under English language arts, but they have aspirations, to be a manager. So if they get their master's in within administration, will still have achieved their master's. Hopefully, they're using, some of that content in their teaching.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to spend more time.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I disagree with it, I just like to understand the decision process. If it's a significant question, it's not.
And just to clarify, we don't pay for them to go get the degree, it's once they do, they essentially get degrees.
But we do pay course reimbursements, we pay for credits, as part of the negotiated agreement.
Thank you.
So also under open positions, you see that I specifically removed a vacant general special ed assistant position from Belmont Middle School, which for at this point over 1,200 days. I didn't feel that it was necessary to carry that vacancy, so I did remove that from the budget. After speaking with Mr. Pope, and seeing the impact of me on that. That brings me to the vacancy list. If you go down to the other, we did provide you a vacancy list. And you'll see on that list, this is under the other section of the model.
It's under other. It's, there's staffing and another.
Staffing, okay.
So it's your
See under
staffing.
staffing or other, you'll see a vacancy list. The position that I'm referring to, you see about halfway down the sheet, is that assistant general special ed position. At BMS, that's the one that was removed. But I also want to point out, above that, you'll see that there are 2 vacancies at EHS. That's we replaced the general special ed assistant with behavioral one-on-one assistants. So I just want to note that to the board. Over the past several years, we would carry those vacancies and add those behavioral one-on-ones to the budget while we still carry those vacancies. But in this budget, we didn't carry the vacancies, we replaced the vacancies with behavioral one-on-ones. Behavioral one-on-one makes more money than general special ed money, so there was an increase there. But as I said, past practice was to carry vacancies and add those 2 positions, where this time around, we replaced 2 vacancies, adding 2 positions. It's not a savings. I'm not telling you that it's a savings, but it did change our practice on that. And then we did remove the 3rd grounds worker. This was a discussion we had last year where we had a grounds worker vacancy, and we decided to contract out the services for landscaping at both BES and CES. Which is going very, very well. And so we did remove that position from the department as a vacant position. And we're contracting those services, which actually there is a savings involved in contracting those services, which is very rare that the contracted services actually save you more than the employee. So those are open positions. So in salaries alone, with all of the increases as well as the savings, the total increase is $383,321 in this proposed operating budget. And then other health insurance, that's a 10% increase that we're estimating. Hopefully that comes in lower. That's a total of $188,000. And then one of the things that we are recommending for our support staff is to change our contribution for benefits. We actually touched on this, I want to say it was last meeting, or maybe the meeting prior to that, about what else can we do for our support staff other than hourly increases on the salary scale. So we went and looked at benefits specifically. Currently, our support staff receive 90% of the district contribution for a single plan, and 80% for a 2-person and family plan, 4-family plan. That's the district's contribution. So what we're recommending is district contributing 95% for a single plan, 90% for a 2-person plan, and 85% for a family. So it's increasing the district's contribution, which again is it's actually non-taxable income that helps a employee when it comes to their paycheck every 2 weeks. But it's also not taxable income that they receive. So it's a benefit towards, if you will, benefiting our employees. It's another way to look at providing something for our support staff to stay competitive in local districts. We did do the analysis on regional districts, and they range anywhere from what we currently provide to 100% of the same plan being paid for. So it varies. We felt this was a good step to take forward when it comes to local centers for our support staff. And that comes in at $63,562. Transportation, this is all based on our 5-year contract for a student. We increased the homeless because we're seeing an increase in our homeless population that needs transportation. So this is based on actuals that we spent over the past couple of years. So we're going to increase that specifically. Tuition is the next section this year. So vocational education.
Can I back up on, so on the homeless transportation, is that contracted out or is that done in-house?
It's contracted out, it's all for student and or other providers.
Right.
Our school services, we have other providers that provide.
Like student transport.
It's not just for student. Tuition, so vocational education, this is our tuition line. It's located in the high school budget. This is the tuition that we pay for our students to go to Hewitt Technical Center in Laconia, and Technical Center in Winnisquam. We currently budget for 50 students to attend. We currently have 64 students that attend our tech centers, which is great. And so that number represents an increase from 50 students to 70 students. It also has an increase in the tuition cost as well that we anticipate. So that's where you're seeing that $121,000 increase in tuition from 50 to 70 students, as well as the increase in the tuition cost. And if people recall, a couple of years ago, a bill passed that school districts cannot put a limit on the number of students that attend technical centers based on funding. Next is, and this comes to one of your questions, Jay, special education. You can see a significant savings in our special education tuition of over close to $332,000. This represents students that were placed out of district, that have aged out of the program, and also are not receiving the support services that went along with their program.
Can you remind me, and I realize it's kind of guessing, in the district, what happens if they do to get the budget on sure how does that work?
So we have 3 pools that we work at. First, the whole year we're managing our operational budget. And that's a bottom line budget. So we know exactly how much money we can spend in the year that's voted on by the voters. Then we also have a special education trust fund that we can tap into second if necessary. And then we also have retained fund balance that the board votes on every year, which is up to 5% of the fund balance that they can retain. So those 3 pools we tap into if necessary, but we always try to manage it within our operational budget.
So you feel like those other sources are not above for
Yes.
specialists?
Yes. Okay. Absolutely. And this budget does not include any what we call ghost students, meaning budgeting for a student that might have an out-of-district placement of services down the road that we can't anticipate. So this is based on our current student needs. So that's a significant savings in the budget. MEAS is next. This is the organization that comes in and we go through the accreditation process for our high school to be an accredited high school. And there's a cost associated with that. We actually have to pay for the visiting committee, their travel expenses, their room and board, as well as the supplies that they go.
I find it mandated.
Well, no, it's not a mandate, it's still district can decide.
It's on accreditation. I'm just,
Yes, but it's not an unfunded mandate because it's not mandated that you're accredited. Districts make those choices.
semantics.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're subject to the costs associated with it. And then other benefits, again, these associated with payroll cost items, your FICA, workers' comp, and so forth, come along.
So is this year 5 for the action? Is it the evaluation year?
We are actually starting our review process, which starts this year and goes into next year. And then our our tenure is up in 2028. So we're doing prep work now for 2028.
So we're going to see 17,000 for the next 4 years.
No. It's only when the visiting committee is coming to your review.
They're coming next year.
Yeah, and you'll see it in 28. Let's see, purchase services, you see a savings there of $113,000. Again, these are services we're providing for our students. This is part of that tuition and special education savings as well. So these are services that are not going to be needed for specific students next year. So you see that savings there. Repair and maintenance, our leases are down $50,000. Supplies and print media are up $37,000. And furniture and equipment are down, it's down $23,000. So in the other category, based on increases and decreases, that's a total of $84,850. So if you take salaries and those other items, in these highlights that I have for you this evening, that totals $468,117. This is the highlights for everyone. We'll get into the detail when we have time to look through the detail line and so forth, questions in the future. Any questions at this point?
One, start to look through the detail sheets. What's the easiest way to get the quick analyst to tell them that all the abbreviations mean? Some of them are obvious and some of them aren't.
So I will send out it's a summary of what the budget numbers mean, and that will help. So if you're looking at, for example, if you're looking at the detail, as you're reading across the numbers, 10 means general fund. That's what's impacting the tax rate. 1,100 is regular education to students. So anything with a 1,000 there is some kind of education service. 5.1, and the next section always starts with 5 because of the expense, but 5.1, those are salaries. 5.2 is benefits. And then the next number will give an indication of which level it's at school-wide, and then the school number. So I will send that summary out to everyone. It kind of breaks down what that whole code structure means.
That's helpful. And then I have questions about some of the descriptions are easy to figure out and some of them are not.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what you're kind of looking at.
Yeah, if you have a specific one, we try to make, it doesn't all fit as much, so we try to make pretty standard descriptions, but if you have any specific questions, let me know, please.
Okay. And then just in terms of focus and saving time, for both the board and everything else, and we don't have to do it now, but where's the optionality that exists within this budget? What are the main levers that this board could pull to influence the cost structure?
I know you're thinking your question slightly differently, we might do this actually.
Yeah.
You can understand the three buckets, because there's some structural stuff that drives these costs.
Right.
We had some conversation last year about, tackle that and all that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to avoid majoring in minors.
Yeah. So over 80% of our budget model is salary and benefits.
Yep.
And so next week, you'll see, when we go into the rationale sheets and look at each of the, okay, CES, and you see the bottom line, CES on page, in rationale sheets, CES, 3 and 3, you'll see, amendments, right? There's an increase overall in the budget of 17,000. Correct?
Correct.
So then you can see, we ask questions. I use that one because especially Tanya won't know that. Then we ask questions of Mrs. Judd in terms of what she's requesting and why. Which, given what Mike just said, sometimes we're looking at $10,000 or something and trying to figure out. So it feels like I'll just tell you my experience, it feels like a drop in the bucket when we're looking at the individual budgets.
Yeah, the administrator budgets are fairly small. You can see that particularly they came in, majority of them came in lower or close to level funded. CES, for example, Michelle pointed out three pages, which brings you, $17,000 as an increase. Then you go to page 1, and you can see over replacement furniture. That's what the majority of your increase is for new art tables and stacking chairs and things like that. It's an increase of $13,000. So we try to make sure that you have, what we do is on these rationale sheets, you'll have notes for the larger numbers that are increased.
But the impact, I mean, to your question about impact, but it does give us a picture of the budget in these five.
Is there an aggregation of like all benefits, like I'm assuming the detail sheets it breaks out retirement versus health care costs?
Yep.
And then, is there a place where it gets aggregated for the whole district, total benefits, total salaries, just so we can see the big picture?
I can do that. Usually I do that as a summary sheet. I say salaries and benefits and do a pie chart. But I can do that very easily.
Yeah, and I don't need to get in fact, you can self-file the budget, like, goes into something.
Okay.
And pie charts are nice, but if you guys sort of office theater, it's a full point of mine.
Okay.
Any other questions? We're going to have lots more questions, I'm certain of it, but it's very intro to the budget.
So I would just comment from the town perspective, seeing it start off at a 1.6%, which is where it was planned to probably get, it's a good point system.
And worked hard on trying to make something that felt like reasonable.
Okay. Anything else for budget? All right. See you next week unless Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next one is the proposed delegate assembly proposed resolutions. I think Alex is going. So what we do here is the guidance.
So I know I reviewed all the proposed ones from the other districts, and I felt that the University Board Association responses were pretty spot on with how I would go. With these, so Alice, what's gonna happen is people are gonna get up and they're gonna make their plea and change stuff, so you have the flexibility to vote. It's exciting. Okay. I told Alice I would give her a walkthrough of what to expect.
Yeah, it's up for info, because
Yeah, because we don't vote on the way that the board wants Alice to vote on it. It's just-
we're not there.
just as Randy said, Alice, you might hear the discussion and might sway your vote one way or the other. And want to make sure you have that flexibility. I would agree with what Randy said, reading through all of the proposed resolutions. There are some good resolutions, proposed resolutions in there, and I also felt that the School Boards Association, Executive Board, their recommendations were spot on as well, based on their analysis of the proposed resolutions. So they did a really nice job.
There's a gun resolution, have plenty of conversation. So,
Sean said it was very nice with that, right? At these delegates.
So there was, the continuing resolutions are interesting too. So I think it's after 3 years, they become kind of permanent, and it just means that this is what the School Board Association is going to advocate for. It doesn't mean it's a real thing, but that's where we're going to go. So last year, there was one, it was its 3rd year, and it said that it was the ability for us to meet virtually. But as people talked about it, and some of the university were all for it, they said, that would be kind of sad if someone from the public came in, showed up, and there was no one here except the owl in the media screen. So I changed my mind on that. So when I look at this, the continuing one's the first one, about allowing us to meet without having the board physically present, that may come up for that. So that could say, Michelle, Sean, Jill, and Mark could all dial in virtually. We could physically be here. Like, is that something that we would want to support, or do we want to perform physically? That was the only one I had real concerns with, like I said, because I did it last year, that makes sense.
Actually, 91A was but that's a different conversation. So I'll be curious what they do. So, okay, going back to the proposed, my review was the same as Randy's, but are other people, are there other points to think about? And we wanted guidance on
Not in particular, like you said, it was pretty, I felt like it was pretty straightforward.
I think you're right.
Thanks, Randy. Anything on the continuing?
it's the first one.
Yes. Sean?
I did a 1 year virtual. The meeting started like 4.
No one.
Technical stuff, it's like.
It's like 15 minutes from us, so it's like 10, maybe 15.
Okay, anything else? Now we have permission to plan for Camp Cody.
I did put the white areas on it, it doesn't have any good grades there, and there's more graders that are going. I feel like it should just be.
So I know historically, the CES PTO has paid a piece for each of the 5th graders from Canterbury. So they were able to do that again, and maybe that's why parents aren't going to be a part of it.
It was just moving.
I'll make a motion to accept the permission to plan to Camp Cody for the 24-25 school year. Camp will be April 22nd of 25 to April 25th of 25.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Michael?
So some updates this evening. I've been attending board selection meetings in both Canterbury and Belmont. My last meeting with the Canterbury Board of Selectmen was to discuss communication that was going to go out by the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator regarding the tax impact, potential tax impact, looking at the December bills and so forth. So there was a letter that was drafted by the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator. We had an opportunity to review that prior to it going out, and Debbie and I worked on a letter that is included in your packet of the Canterbury tax impact letter. So Debbie and I provided that information for that letter to go out, and that's what's circulating out with newsletters and so forth in Canterbury, because Canterbury is potentially looking at an estimated tax impact for their December bills that, if they know anywhere significant, again, it's an estimate. As Debbie mentioned earlier, DRA is still working on setting that tax rate. So that was an item of discussion at the Board of Selectmen meeting that I attended. And then I did recently, last week, attended the Belmont Board of Selectmen meeting to give them an update on the generator at the high school, let them know that it's ordered, it's in, it's beginning to be installed next week and should be installed no later than the end of the first week of November. So gave them an update on that. They took the opportunity as to when I was sitting around the table to ask additional questions around the budget and so forth, which tends to happen when I attend a Board of Selectmen meeting in Belmont, which I'm happy to answer what questions I can. I just want you to know that I have been president at both Board of Selectmen meetings over the past couple of weeks. Any questions on that?
And you did the tax impact letter,
Just to make sure you're aware of it, because I know that there are people in Belmont that are also asking about that. That letter, even though it's specific to Canterbury. Just want to make sure you have it in case you were approached by somebody. The other thing I want to mention is this past Monday, yesterday, was our first meeting with the representative from Isobar that's going to be helping facilitate our strategic direction. That was a meeting with our district support team, which is considered the district leaders group as part of their timeline. And that was just a kickoff, 30-minute conversation in the different phases of strategic planning. The next piece will be on October 21st. We're meeting again with the gentleman's name is Nick Cohn from Isobar with our district support team. I just this evening asked Randy if she can attend that meeting. He's going to send us a list of questions for surveys that will go out in November to review those questions. It's basically, they have extensive experience with strategic planning. They have a pool of questions that they tend to ask to be able to give feedback necessary to the planning process in general. And we get to review those questions ahead, add, take out, amend, whatever it might be. And that's going to happen on October 21st for the potential time for surveys to go out to families, students as low as grade 4, and staff to start that process. So we're moving right along.
So, question, I feel like when we did this in the past, there was a question about public access to the responses. So one question I would have is, are there going to be any open-ended text box type responses? Or is it only just making selection? I would have concerns about free text areas where people can put comments that I think are supposed to be public.
We aren't sure at this point. Again, this was a very general conversation. We'll see those questions, but I noted that, Sean, so I can ask that question on the 21st. To your question about will it be front-facing to the public, yes, all the data that we collect, that is one of the end results is a dashboard that people can go to see basically what our 3 to 4 pillars are, what our focus areas are, and then they can dive in deeper as to what that data brought us to that decision on when.
Should we do, before the surveys go out, we have us do some
Yeah.
communication, or not?
Yes, I definitely plan on sending something out to give people, just let them know that we're going through this process. You can expect these surveys to come out. So I'll front load that communication so people aren't caught by surprise. We have these surveys in their inbox.
Definitely, like, I'm not a communication person, so when I say this, know that I really don't want to do this either, per se, but like just bullets or something, like less than 4, so that, someone who can decide.
Like a communication position?
Yeah. I'm bored with that tool.
So I know that they will work with us on that.
Well, that's what I wondered, they must have other things that they used before that we could,
Tap into it.
yeah, but,
I agree with you 100%, Michelle. Keep it simple, to the point.
yeah. I'm not saying you're wordy, I'm just saying, no one wants to read like a lot,
Yes,
or I don't.
I don't either. All right, so that's just an update on where we are with this strategic direction. And that's what I have for you this evening.
Any questions from anyone? Okay, next up is Appendix B. We wrote the report. As just a reminder for people, the Appendix B committee is part of the collective bargaining agreement, and as part of it, representatives from each school, as well as the administrator and national board representative talking about it. So we meet one time a year prior to September 30th to take a look at all the charters that we have that haven't been placed on Appendix B. And we also look at anything that isn't meeting. So if you remember last year, like we recommended we sunset some of the clubs. I don't remember which ones, but
Maybe several.
yeah, because if they're not meeting, remember we budget for Appendix B. So we want to make sure we're not budgeting for something we're not carrying. So we met, and we have recommendations for changes. We understand that only the board can make changes or add or subtract or change things around in Appendix B. So we met on September 25th and we reviewed all the positions and the charters, and we are recommending unanimously the following changes. One is the BMS Gender and Sexuality Alliance. Their charter, they've been meeting over a year, which is one thing we always discuss, and we recommend placement on the Appendix B chart, whatever it's called, at DD, and it's the same with the Dungeons and Dragons Club. And as a part of this, we always make sure that there are actually students regularly attending these clubs. That's part of it. And then the big discussion was around robotics and the growth of our robotics program and the amazing things that have happened over the past couple of years. Amira had done a lot of work in submitting to Appendix B everything that's required for the coaches, the coach at the high school and the middle school. There were other things she put together for consideration. And we really, as a group, really sat down and said, it's not about the person. So when we're looking at this, it's not about the person, it's about what we're expecting for our program. So if Amira left and everyone left, what will we be hiring? And looking to the advisor as well. So we are recommending movement. BMS robotics moved to category F. In VHS robotics, we actually were recommending creating and moving to category B, which is a 0.15, which you'd be better off explaining with me, in terms of how the money works.
So the categories are a percentage of the bachelor's step 1. So right now, the high school robotics is 0.05 of the bachelor's step 1, and we're proposing to go to a 0.15 because it's a year-round program. There's a lot more time involved. And the middle school one is currently at 0.02, and we're recommending that go to 0.06.
Is there anything else in category B or is this?
There is no, right now, there is no category B. This would be creating it.
So is this the highest
Yeah, 0.1
percentage?
is, yeah, right now, 0.1 is the highest, and that's for the varsity basketball and the hockey. But the committee felt that robotics is a much longer season because it's basically year-round versus those other seasons.
And I go so far as to advocate that robotics would actually move to an actual title or labeling as coach, knowing the time that goes into it, knowing that this is an activity that spans 3 seasons, or all 3 athletic seasons.
It actually goes through the summer too.
Well, yeah. So you're proving my point even more. That it's beyond an activity or a club. It's completely into a coaching room.
And the way the Appendix B is set up, those that have a single letter are the coaching rooms. The double letters are the clubs and advisors. So
Right.
this would make it more of a club.
Right, but this would be, but you're talking at the stipend for year long, correct?
Hmm?
I'm talking more of that they would be getting a stipend for each season. Because of the time. So it's almost, you're coaching volleyball in the fall, you're ski team in the winter, you're baseball in the spring. I don't know, it's a massive time commitment. I mean,
Right.
I've done it.
Right.
And I wasn't able to get into the coaching category. That was definitely the route that I was going. But there were adjustments, and stipend adjustments, that made it worthwhile, for me to do. Otherwise, it's the time commitment is just, the benefit's not there. And I commend anybody who's willing to put that, and put that time in, but the amount of time that's going into it, it needs to be in a different, maybe call it, fall, winter, spring, or however, but I think like robotics with the coaching that's involved and the time commitments that it entails. Should be seen.
So these changes would have been this year.
Or it could be the 25-26 budget development. They're not in there yet, because the board hasn't taken action.
And I don't disagree with you, Mark, when that came up, kind of, in the sense of robotics really doesn't fit any of the categories we have. We definitely recognize, because I publicly said, like, we shouldn't be thinking that nobody but sports could be up in the single digits, right? Or single letters. So we created its own category. We don't have any precedent, which doesn't mean anything, but we don't, all of our year-long things are down in the double letters. So I'm definitely open, but we just don't have any, which is why we created a new category.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the push that I would say is, you know, they should be, I don't use high school as an example because we can talk, you know, varsity or, you know, or JV. Your robotics coach at the high school should be getting a varsity stipend for fall, varsity stipend for winter, and a varsity stipend for spring.
Have we looked at other area schools and what they're paying? Like, maybe we're way out of line, like we're still under, or what are area schools doing for this?
So I did not look into it. Kelly did say that Pembroke pays a stipend, and I don't remember if she said where it was.
Curious to make sure we're being competitive in other schools.
We also wanted to look at, as part of a longer discussion on what robotics should look, because right now coaching has athletic director who helps with all of those things. And right now it's falling to our coaches. They're doing everything. So, I mean, that speaks more towards, it's well beyond a one season stipend. So we were looking at, I actually asked Randy a little bit ago, so I don't know if you have more information, it's okay if you don't, but like, what are some of the really strong programs in the state? Like, what do they fund and how do they fund it? Is it a stipended position?
So I believe it's like a mix of like all over the place. I would say that it would make sense to have Mira speak to, you know, what she does with robotics and kind of the part of the administrative tasks, as well as and she did a survey to other schools in the area and the region as well to kind of ask them about stuff. I also found that some people use FIRST Robotics, and I did some comparisons, and for FIRST Robotics, it's $6,000 a team per year for one competition. So the VEX Robotics is highly more accessible for students. So it does vary because I don't think that she looked at FIRST coaches, which is where you see like the high school, like the Oyster River stuff. They go down that road versus the VEX. But it might make sense to have her maybe speak to the board about what goes on with robotics. In addition to all that, because I have spent quite a bit of time this summer driving my car in robotics, because it is student driven, I will say that. There's transportation costs that the coaches have to come up with. They've been going to Worlds the past couple of years, they have to fund their own travel, I don't think that's fair. I would love to see like a better way about that too. So I think there's more to the cost of robotics.
There absolutely is. There absolutely is. I mean, we certainly can years here, I think.
I don't know if you want to put her on the spot tonight or.
I think she definitely gave a very detailed, which if we want to, I mean, we can also table this or move this. I'm only saying that because Mira spent a lot of time. We have a lot of written documentation that you did related. Huh?
I have a question.
Okay.
Have they tried like Friends of Football? Have they tried to do the fundraising? Come up with like more?
That's my post-school board thing, we do a Friends of Shaker Robotics that are nonprofit.
Sure.
But it would be a conflict of
I'm just
interest.
wondering if they've gone that route. I mean, I know it's kids from football, they must have been backside and raising money. So I don't know if the robotics.
So they do fundraising. They go out and solicit local businesses, they get sponsors. The cost to travel to some of these events is huge, so I applaud them for that. But so like one thing that's tricky is, like if we think about a school trip, and I'll just use the Galapagos Islands one because it's the only one I know of, the cost for the teacher to go on is factored into it. And whereas these kids will sometimes get like a little wild card entry into something. You can't always like have the time to do that proper planning like throughout the year. So that's where it does get a little tricky, I think. But I do think that going down that road with the booster club is the next level of this.
So when I did that, we had a partnership with Freudenberg over in Northfield. And in speaking with them, we told them, you know, what potential costs would be. Here are our fixed costs. Here are our unknowns. And they presented to us with a here's what we can do for your fixed costs, and here's what we're going to do if you make it to the world. Here's what we're going to contribute. So there was a lot of community partnership when I was doing it over in Winnisquam, which also included about $500,000 grant that came into donation from Freudenberg came into the district. But yeah, there's money that are out there for the operating costs, but you know, it's really a philosophical conversation and debate about what a coach is, and the people that run these teams really are coaches. They're an athletic coach, but they really fall into that category.
I think everyone here agrees that they're a coach. I think it begs the question, I mean, we could ask Amira to come present. I know you're here, so it's even the person, but Amira could present and talk about the different grants and things that they have and answer some of those questions, so that we can figure out, do we want to place it on, I mean, we have the ability, if we wanted to place robotics on things, right? We could place it fall, winter, spring on a B. We could like create a category B and put them in each. We can do whatever.
I mean, I look at the schedule. You know, I mean, we talked about, you talked about D&D. You know, I have a daughter that's involved in it. I know what that takes and the time commitment for that, and I know what the time commitment is for robotics, and they're not even in the same system.
Right. No, definitely.
I also have another question. How many positions does this change cover? Is it just the two main ones, or are there the assistants as well?
The BMS and the VHS. It's just one.
Or two each, two. Yeah.
There's a BMS.
So we don't pay assistants for the robotics.
There was in here, I thought I saw last time, there was 3 open Appendix B robotics club.
Well, there was a joint, and then it was merged to one.
So like I see Amira up here, VHS Robotics Club Advisor. And then I see 2 more VHS Robotics Club Advisors. One says shared, or no longer shared, for about half the price of.
So Amira has done middle school split with Matthew.
This is separate for middle school.
But the high school one originally was shared, and then Adrian gave up his half, and we are only in that first. That appendix, this might be wrong. It may have been changed because it had been shared, and then removed as a shared. But it's only one high school position. Whether they share it, if they share it, it's split.
So one high school, one middle school. Because
Right.
the middle school used to have like another one, under Mr. Bornick, it was a.
That was it, robotics.
It's only, so even the coaches at, like, say, soccer, you have one person coach, and there could be, you could have 3 assistants, but the assistants don't get paid. So I mean, that's comparable, that's all I'm saying.
I have a question, should we table this, because the guys have all these questions, like,
Well,
we
that's
can't
why,
make a motion on this time.
well, that's what I'm asking, like, and if we table it, what do we want in order to get information? So
So let's
that's
just see what other districts are saying. And we, as a board or whoever, Appendix B committee, just define what it is. Is it a 3-season position? A one-time stipend, but you cover it for those 3 seasons? I mean, these are all questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, we can send it back to appendix.
Because I mean, this is gonna, I mean, I think this
Yes.
is part of the budget season now, but this is gonna directly affect our budget, so we need to know.
When does appendix, how often is appendix?
We meet once.
Yeah,
we met
so like, we
once.
can't bring it back to appendix.
No, I mean, we could call a meeting, but the question that we're gonna wanna know, obviously, because we talked to someone about it, is what is the board willing to do? Because we could make an argument that that's gonna be, I'm gonna guess, $50,000, give or take, to the budget just for robotics, if you put it over 3 seasons, like.
If you move it to F and put it all 3 seasons, then that's almost $20,000.
Yeah. So Appendix B isn't gonna bring that recommendation to the board because we already were thinking through in Appendix B, like, what does the board want? Some of these are, I'm just saying.
But they bring value, like, the way I'm looking at it is like, they win competitions, she puts in a ton of work, you should reward hard work. Like, I mean, I'll speak frank, but some of these Appendix B clubs, I don't know we're getting our value for what we pay for some of these clubs. But like this one, we do. So I don't mind, like me personally, my tax dollars are going to a program that, I mean, our kids are recognized around the world, are they not?
Yeah.
So to me personally, I don't mind putting money into that. But you have some other clubs, there's a lot, that are, get 2 kids and we're giving a stipend for that. I don't know.
There's also about $110 million in scholarship money available to robotics students.
No, like I said, like robotics, I think, are there positions in other schools that are full-time for robotics?
Yeah, so we certainly.
Yeah, so one of the things, I just want to explain, when the Appendix B committee meets, we are looking, number one, at what clubs has the board approved, and then we also accept requests for changes that come from either the school principal, in this case it came from robotics, from Amira, and the recommendation was to add a robotics coordinator, which the committee said was not really part of Appendix B, that's more of a board decision, if the board wants to have a district-wide coordinator. But then the other request was to consider moving the stipend. Now, if it had come in requesting 3 seasons of stipends, the committee would have addressed that. That's not the request that came to the committee. So we were responding to the request that came before us. So
I just want to know, I need more information, but what would you like us to do and who to do it?
If anyone needs me to answer questions, I'm fine with answering questions tonight.
Where are other schools paying?
I'm sorry?
Where are other schools paying?
It varies. It's anywhere from, there are some programs that just have volunteers, they're not getting paid, to well over 10,000. There are entire charter academies dedicated to robotics. We are competing against robotic academies out there. So there are some coaches that are getting paid a full-time job, whatever that teacher is.
You know, there's some districts that have full-time robotics teachers, and the club runs as part of, you know, that curriculum. So you're right, it's all over the place, you know.
Like, for example, Spark Academy. Spark Academy is based out of Manchester, and they are a STEM-based, I think I read today, they're looking for students to join, and they have free tuition. But they are a charter school dedicated to STEM and robotics. And then we have other, you know, if you go to the other extreme with like elementary schools, you have just a club and a volunteer parent taking over, but they're not putting the amount of hours that the current coaches for both the high school and the middle school are putting for the last several seasons. They're also not producing teams that have gone to Worlds or have won awards at larger championships or been invited to larger championships. We have made a huge name for ourselves. People recognize the team I don't know.
That's the
That's the
team.
name.
Yeah, that's the name of the
Do
team.
other districts like come to you to talk to you about starting robotics clubs?
We had, it was either last year or 2 years ago, we had Winnisquam, the current Winnisquam coach came, shadowed us for a couple of weeks to see how we have everything set up, what we're doing. I've not been in contact with that coach, so I'm not sure exactly like where they are this year with it. At championship events, I've had new coaches ask for advice, so I've given them contact information, important resources. We're helping Thetford Academy, which is a public/private school in Vermont. We're helping them host their very first tournament, November 2nd. So we're known to have the knowledge that other people seek. I hope that answers the question.
I have a suggestion. How about if the board this evening is comfortable moving forward with the Appendix B Committee's recommendations for the Gender and Sexuality Alliance and VMS, the old Dungeons and Dragons and VMS, approve that this evening, and then table the discussion for robotics and have it as a separate agenda item during our budget development process. For more information and budget considerations.
I like that idea, because when I look at this and it says you move to Pepper, I kind of know what that means.
So do you know what the cost associated with the VMS clubs?
So, moving, sorry, to the DD ones.
And then Amira, while you're here, do we know how many students at the middle school are currently participating in robotics, and Mr. Friend is in there?
Too many. It's, we have, currently we have 10 teams and around 30 students. He can't do it himself, so I'm helping. We're
So you're
looking
doing
at,
high school and middle school?
yes. In fact, Mr. Friend was talking, I met with him today, that's why I was running late. He's looking at opening up Tuesdays, so having Tuesdays and Wednesdays to split all the students because they can't all fit in the space in the STEM room.
Yeah, 2,271.53. Total or per? That does the two GSA Dungeons and Dragons. For 2,271.53.
I'm sorry, I was asking about robotics, and I said in the sense that what that means, because we were talking about moving.
I'm sorry.
Robotics ones, please.
So, moving the robotics to category F moves it from, I can give you the salary piece pretty quickly. So that would move the middle school robotics from $889.72 to $2,670. And it would move the high school robotics from $2,224 to $6,673 roughly.
So that's basically the difference between the total of the $10,581, a little over $2,200 for the middle school and over $8,000 for PHS robotics, reaching that total. The reason why I asked the question is because the board this evening could continue with the motion to recommendation of the Appendix B committee for the 2 BMS clubs. I only asked you that question so you understand what, if you approve that motion, what the costs associated with it, and then table the robotics recommendation for a future meeting as an individual item. And you can decide what you want to do budget-wise based on any more information I can get or might want.
So we deal with the robotics for now.
Can we also ask the mayor to come back and Mr. Friend as well, in case we have questions for them?
Well, once we put it on the agenda, absolutely.
And I would agree to this.
So the other two,
Motion to approve the recommendations for the BMS Gender and Sexuality Alliance, BMS Dungeons and Dragons Club, the Appendix B Committee, and include the appropriate budget changes for 2025-2026.
any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention. Motion carries. I think there were 2 nays. I couldn't check.
Yeah.
I thought so. That's why I looked at it funny. Okay. Acceptance of the fresh fruit and vegetable grant that we had the public hearing on. Need a motion to accept the fresh fruit and vegetable grant in amount of $27,580.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Carries. And acceptance of the New Hampshire State Council on the Arts grant. So this was below the 5,000. Go ahead.
Make a motion to accept the New Hampshire State Council on Arts President's Grant in the amount of $4,140.
Second. Discussion. Sean?
Does the cost of the artists and residents exceed the grant amount? Is there an additional?
Yeah, so sometimes the PTO will supplement, or sometimes the school will have some of it in the budget.
Just to supplement whatever that.
Correct.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention? On the horizon? What?
No, sorry.
How's it going?
Okay.
Anything?
Do we want to put the robotics
discussion for October 22nd. That meeting was a little late. Set the budget is something. Hopefully, here communicate.
October 22nd? Yes.
And hopefully, Mr. Benton.
I will let him know.
Anything else? Enrollment report.
You can see that our enrollment report as of October 1st, district total is 1,144 students.
This is the October meeting, so it's the official count. Question? It's down from the September count. It's still up from the previous years.
Yeah, so from the previous year, because that last year's senior class was very small. Will we be able to get class enrollment numbers for the high school for the next meeting?
I have it on the November 12th.
Oh, that's right.
It's on the horizon.
Any other questions? The volunteer list.
A motion to accept the volunteer list of the 17th. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? No abstention. Okay. Okay. Internal policy. Alice, these are first readings.
Yep, these are first readings. A lot of what we did in this one was really just streamlining some of the verbiage that we had. So like in a special one, a lot of the verbiage that we did, it actually correlates to the wellness policy, which is JLCF. It's a match. We also actually had quite a long discussion about the non-food vending machines.
I was wondering about that.
It doesn't apply, is ultimately what we came to. It simply doesn't apply. There is a single non-food vending machine at distributed utensils, and it isn't in use. So,
And it operates during the day, which.
right.
Like, I didn't know if we were talking about like soda.
No, food and beverage are categorized together. That also came up.
It was what I was against.
Yeah, policy ECEA doesn't exist, so we took that out too. Yeah, so this one, it definitely needed a little bit of an overhaul, but let me know if you see anything that doesn't work.
On any of them, or are we just starting?
On any of them, that one in particular, we had a weirdly long discussion about it.
On the communication, or I'm sorry, well, either in, yeah, I'm sorry, the EGAA, personally owned network communication device, should we have something in there that there's no expectation of privacy? Use that verb, because that's actually what it is. There's no, you can't have any expectation of privacy.
So I can't remember if it actually says that on when you're signing in, or not in so many words. But it might actually, doesn't it say that?
You have to do some checking on
We
what
did.
it says.
We have to sign something.
We do.
So it's a student.
Right, so that's all part of the bring your own device, but then there's also, like, if you sign in now, or you're at, you're in a gym, you access Wi-Fi, you actually, you don't have expectation privacy there either. That's why you have to go through.
I'd say that's a general understanding, Mark.
Well, I don't think that's a general understanding to people that are accessing it.
Tapping into the system. I'm not sure if Lori wanted specifically a security or network problem.
Does that, not where I got this there?
And I think when we talked about months ago, when like, there's that verbiage, I think, when it came down to like, people's cars, like back on people's cars, something like that. I think there was something specific, there was no expectation prior to. That's why that jumped out at me when I was reading that.
I think it may just, even if it says something like internet is monitored in some capacity or something to that effect.
Well, yeah, it's in here. You understand that you reserve the right to something. Reserve the right to log or monitor traffic to ensure these terms are being met. You understand that unauthorized use of resources through this portal may give rise to a claim for damage. So it's in the portal. There's like 4 different terms of use.
So I think by agreeing to sign, my personal thought is that by agreeing to sign that terms of use, it covers that. But the other thing is strong about it. Again, secure portal. Most of these are really just sort of streamlined in language.
Any other feedback? Okay, there are Appendix B nominations, and there's the legal teacher for nomination that we can do in public if there are no questions on the personnel teacher.
I'll make a motion to approve the Appendix B nomination.
Second.
Discussion?
What's that?
Any discussion?
No, I mean, I do have one question. The future discussion about robotics, that doesn't impact what we're doing now, right? This is for right now, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. And there's the BES legal teacher.
General question, the able teacher. Does this create an opening or a vacancy
For the system.
for the assistant?
Any other questions? Okay.
Make a motion to accept as able teacher nomination.
Discussion. All those in favor of the motion as presented, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Carries. Okay, so, Next up is public communication and correspondence. So there's NARA on the agenda because superintendent evaluation is not public as opposed to public communication. So, any public communication or correspondence, anything the public would like to say?
So if I heard right, you need to kick me out now?
I make a motion to vote no.